Hey guys, my name is Alicia, and if you didn't know, I sell secondhand clothing on the apps Depop and Poshmark, and every month I make a video talking about what I sold and how much money I made. So today we're going to be talking about what sold for the month of April 2022. So April was actually a pretty slow month for me. I only ended up selling 19 items, which is definitely a little bit on the lower end for me recently. But that's okay. I feel like, there's just those months that are going to be slow. And right now we're kind of like in between seasons. So I think that's why April was so slow. I ended up selling 10 items on Depop, 7 on Poshmark, 1 on Instagram, and 1 through Vinted. So Depop took the lead this month, which has kind of been a trend that I've been noticing lately, with obviously Poshmark in a close second, and then Instagram and Vinted just like barely making it in there. But I actually barely have any items listed on Vinted, so honestly the fact that even one thing sold is actually a pretty good sign. And before we get into it, I did want to mention that I do have my own clothing pickup service, so some of my items I do get at no cost, but I feel like as of recently that's getting rarer and rarer, and most of my items I have been purchasing from like thrift stores or pay by the pound stores. But of course, if there is a cost associated with the item, I will be sure to mention it. Alright, so the first item that I sold this month was actually on Poshmark, and it was this Aritzia green bodysuit. Aritzia items do usually do pretty well for me, especially the fact that this was more of a more recent style within probably like the last 3 years. And it actually ended up selling fairly quickly from what I remember. So I ended up selling that item for $24. This is actually a consignment item. I do consignment on like a few pieces. So for this one in particular, me and my friend are actually going to be splitting the profits, meaning that at the end of the day, I'm actually only making $9.29 off of this top, which considering the fact that we are completely splitting the profits 50-50, that's actually a pretty good margin, and I was totally happy with that. Next on Poshmark, I ended up selling these dynamite pleated high-rise jeans. I honestly wasn't sure how these were gonna do just because I've never really sold dynamite before, and these ones actually had a little bit of damage to them, so I honestly wasn't sure if anyone would even really be interested in them. But I believe somebody did eventually send me an offer for $20, which I accepted. I thought that was totally fair. So at the end of the day, I actually made $15.48, which I honestly was really happy with. That's a perfectly good margin for a pair of jeans. I mentioned this in most of my videos, but my goal profit margin is kind of between $10 to $15 minimum, and then anything above that, that's like really good. Then next I made my first Depop sale of the month, and it was for these Levi's black 514 jeans. I ended up selling these for $20 plus $10 shipping, which is actually like definitely on the cheaper side when selling through Depop, just because I do have to cover all of the shipping costs. But because my cost of goods for this item was like so low, and there was a bit of damage associated with the item, I was okay with selling it for a little bit of a lower price. Because I actually picked these up from thrift store by the pound, and they only cost me 78 cents, which is like obviously an amazing price, especially for a pair of Levi's jeans. So obviously I had a little bit more wiggle room for negotiation. So at the end of the day, I only made $8.77, which honestly isn't that amazing. But the fact that there were a few stains on it and I actually had to replace the button, I was totally happy with that. Then next up on Instagram, I actually sold these Wilfred Free cropped overalls. You guys would have actually seen me pick these up in one of my thrifting videos from the past month where I went to the Orpheus Market. And I really wasn't sure how they were going to do, but they ended up selling super quickly. I actually sold these to a friend, so I didn't have to pay any shipping fees or anything. Plus I was selling through Instagram, so I wasn't paying any Depop or Poshmark fees. So I essentially let this item go for basically how much I would have ended up making if I had sold it on Poshmark. I also looked up kind of like similar comps to what the item probably sold for, and then what I would have made after all the fees and everything. So I actually only ended up selling it for $20. It did cost me $3.21 when I picked it up at the bins. So at the end of the day, I made $16.79. So obviously not a huge profit, but one that I was totally happy with, and totally happy that I could give my friend like a really good deal on them. Then next up on Depop, I ended up selling a bundle. It was for this vintage 70s striped belt and this next issue vintage short sleeve shirt. So I ended up selling that bundle for $53.98. with free shipping because at the time I was doing free shipping on bundles, but I decided to recently change that just because I feel like unless it's like a really big bundle, it's almost not worth it for me. It's just like too much of a discount since shipping costs are like so high. So that is something that I have changed recently, and we're gonna see how that affects my bundle sales since there is kind of a less incentive for people to bundle. So for the belt, I actually ended up only making $7.78, which is because it was a consignment item. But for a belt, honestly, I think that's a really good profit. And then the shirt I did pick up from the thrift store, it was $2.70. So at the end of the day, I made $7.46 for that item. So obviously not huge profit margins, definitely below my goal, but these items had been sitting for quite a while. So honestly, I was happy to finally see them go. Then next on Poshmark, I ended up selling these Levi's 501 premium skinny jeans. I'm pretty sure I have actually already shown you guys these in a past what sold video, but essentially what had happened is they actually ended up getting returned to me because they didn't fit the customer. And it was honestly totally my fault because for the life of me, I could not find a tag anywhere on them that said the size. So I essentially just measured the exact measurements and that's what I listed it as. But pro tip for Poshmark, never ever put the exact waist measurement as the US sizing, because if there's a discrepancy, Poshmark is always going to go with what the tag says, which is what happened in this case. The customer did actually end up finding the tag. It was kind of like hidden on the inside where I couldn't see for some reason, and turns out it was actually size 23, so way too small. So Poshmark essentially just sent them back to me at no cost to me or the customer. The customer got refunded, whatever. So then I just basically had to relist them on Poshmark. But I was honestly really nervous because a size 23 is quite on the small size, you know, it's less common, less of an average size, I guess. So I was definitely a little bit worried that I wasn't going to be able to sell them again, especially because I paid a little bit up for this pair of jeans. But eventually they did end up selling and the customer was super happy with them, so all was well in the end. I actually ended up selling them for $51. I believe somebody sent me an offer, which I accepted. Now, they did cost me $18.06 at the thrift store when I picked them up, which I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but I would never have picked them up for that price again. I really don't know what I was thinking. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still made $21.41, which is obviously a great profit. So definitely worked out in the end, but probably wouldn't risk that much of an investment on them. It does go to show the power of the Levi's premium jeans though. They're definitely a lot more valuable. Like obviously people are willing to pay a higher price for them, and they do usually eventually always sell. So if you find them for a good price, definitely pick them up. Then next up on Poshmark, I sold a bundle, which was great. It was for this animal color block cardigan and this Pringle sweater. I was so happy to finally get rid of this cardigan just because I've had it for so long, and I actually originally thrifted it for myself but then realized like it was just not my style at all, and it took quite a bit of time for it to sell, so I'm glad that it finally did. So I ended up selling that bundle for $30. I did actually pay $11.28 for the cardigan, which obviously because I was buying it originally for myself, I wasn't really thinking so much about profit margins and the cost of goods, so it was definitely on the more pricey end. So at the end of the day, I actually only made $11.94 off of both of those items, which is obviously not great. But like I said, I really was just trying to get rid of that cardigan at this point, and the fact that I made any money off of it, I was okay with. Then next on Depop, I sold a bundle of these Edwin Blue vintage mom jeans and this Crying Girl comic tee. I ended up selling that bundle for $64.98 with free shipping because it was a bundle. Shipping ended up being pretty pricey at $20.89. And these jeans I did pick up from the thrift store for $14.45, so a little bit more on the pricey end as well. So at the end of the day, I made $20.96 for these two items, which comes out to about $10 per item, which is pretty good, but honestly for those jeans, I was expecting to make a little bit more off of them. So once again, another reason why I've stopped doing free shipping on bundles. I feel like it just eats into my margins way too much, I feel like. Then my first and only vintage sale of the month, I ended up selling this It Figures vintage black and yellow bathing suit. Someone actually sent me an offer for $7, which I accepted just because I'd been trying to sell this for quite a while. Actually, interestingly enough, right before this sold, somebody was actually messaging me about it on Depop, so I thought that was pretty interesting that all of a sudden like it started to pick up with interest. But because it had been sitting for a while and because Vinted actually doesn't take any fees, I was totally okay with letting it go for $7. And because I didn't even pay for this item, I pretty much just made $7 exactly off of it, which isn't like a ton of money or anything, but I was happy to see it go. Then next on Depop, I ended up selling this Gap embroidered tank. This item was actually getting quite popular. I had multiple people messaging me about it. So then when somebody sent me an offer for $22 on Depop, I was really kind of weighing my options because the original listing price was only $24.99. So it's only like a $3 difference basically. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna accept it. Like, what's $3? So I ended up selling it for $22 plus $10 shipping. And guys, shipping for this item, this thin little tank top, ended up being $19.64 because it was going to BC. And honestly, that was so brutal. Like, this was honestly the breaking point for me where I was like, you know what? I really need to look into different options other than Canada Post because this is just getting ridiculous. Like, there's no way a tank top should cost the same as a pair of jeans or like a whole bundle. So I am excited to announce that I have been looking into other shipping options and I'm very excited about it. So you guys are definitely gonna have to stick around for next month's What Sold because I'm definitely going to have been experimenting with new shipping platforms, so that'll be really interesting to see. But anyways, because shipping was so expensive, because I did pick this item up at the thrift store for $2.47, at the end of the day, I only made $5.45. So definitely was not happy about that, especially for an item that so many people were interested in, like definitely more of like a valuable item. I was definitely a little bit disappointed. Then next on Depop, I ended up selling a bundle of 3. It was these Topaz vintage mom jeans, this Kitty and Teddy t-shirt, and this Greek Islands embroidered white t-shirt. So I ended up selling that bundle for $79.97. With free shipping. I was able to fit all of these into a Canada Post flat rate box, so shipping ended up being $20.89. I did actually pay for both the jeans and the Kitty t-shirt. For both of those items, it cost me $13.07. So then at the end of the day, for all 3 items, I made $35.39. So over $10 per item, which I was totally happy about, especially for t-shirts. They're obviously not as valuable as like a pair of jeans, for example, so I was super happy with that, and also super happy to see that that Kitty t-shirt sold so quickly. Like, I really was not expecting that. I feel like it's always the least suspecting things that sell the quickest. Then next up on Poshmark, I sold these Aritzia Denim Forum Lola jeans. These ones I was super excited about because I think this is the second pair of Denim Forum jeans I've sold. They're definitely one of my favorite kind of Poshmark brand of jeans to sell just because they're always seems to be interest for them and you can always sell them for a pretty high price. So I actually ended up selling them for $45. I believe somebody sent me an offer which I accepted. And my favorite part of these was that I actually picked them up from thrift store by the pound for only $2.25. So I was super proud about that. I thought it was such a good find. So at the end of the day, I actually made $32.58, which I was super happy about. It was definitely my largest profit margin of the month for a single item. That is the reason why I love Denim Forum so much. Then next on Poshmark, another higher end kind of jean. I ended up selling these Mother the Rascal Cuff jeans. Another one that I actually ended up picking up from the bins and was pretty proud of. But if you guys remember from the haul, I really was not sure about these ones. Mother is definitely a very popular jean brand. They're very expensive jeans. They're like $300. So I was obviously very excited to find them. But they were quite damaged. They had a hole kind of in the crotch area. And they were, in my opinion, just a really strange fit. So I really did not know how they were gonna do. So I think I decided to list them at $50. I think I was originally gonna go cheaper, but I was like, you know what, let's just start at $50 and see what will happen. And eventually somebody did send me an offer for $40, which I accepted. I thought that was totally fair. These only cost me $3.21 at the bin. So at the end of the day, I made $27.75. So I was super happy about that. And I feel like that just goes to show the power of Mother, the brand, because even though these were quite like heavily worn in and had a little bit of damage, they still sold for a really good price. And then the very last thing that I ended up selling this month was on Depop, and it was this vintage ski crew neck. One of my viewers actually ended up purchasing this item, so shout out if you're watching. So excited for you to get it in the mail. So I ended up selling this item for $24 plus $20 shipping just because the customer was located in the US. I did have it originally listed at $29, I believe, but we did go back and forth and we were able to settle on $24, which if you guys are ever interested in something on my page, I'm definitely going to be a little more lenient if you guys are my viewers. I don't know, I think it's just so cool that you guys watch my videos, and the fact that you guys love my items enough to purchase them, I think that's like so cool. So just know I'm always willing to negotiate a price if you guys are really interested in something. So shipping did end up being $18.72 for this item. I did pay $4.05 when I picked this up at the bins. So at the end of the day, I made $14.80, which honestly I was really happy with for this sweater. And I'm really glad that both me and the customer were able to work out a deal that we were both happy with. So guys, that is everything that I ended up selling in April. And as always, I'm gonna go ahead right now and calculate how much money I ended up making. Alright guys, so this month I actually ended up making $242.85. So definitely on the lower end for me. Like I said, April was definitely a slow month. I could tell just by the, lower number in sales. I kind of had a feeling that my profits would be a little bit lower this month, but that's okay. It's still, a good chunk of money. And honestly, I'm really excited because I know May is going to be poppin'. I remember last year, it was one of my best months of the year by far, just because that's when the weather really starts to change and people start realizing that they need summer clothes. So I've been really stocking up on summer items like shorts, dresses, that sort of thing, and I think it's really going to pay off next month. So I'm very excited to see how that goes. And then I did actually want to calculate my average profit per item, which comes out to about $12.93. So definitely, where my goal is, but a little bit on the lower end, I guess. I think there were quite a few profit margins in there that kind of definitely lowered that number. So I can't really say that I'm surprised. I totally forgot to mention too my sell-through rate. So this month I actually ended up listing 39 items, and as you guys know, only sold 19, meaning that my sell-through rate was only 48%, which is quite low because compared to the last 2 months, it's been almost 100%. So I listed a lot more items than I actually sold, which obviously isn't amazing, but like I mentioned before, I think I'm gonna really see the fruits of my labor next month. But yeah, like I said, I've been exploring other shipping options, so I'm hoping that is going to increase my margins quite a bit. You're definitely gonna hear all about that next month. And I do plan on doing some more markets soon, now that the weather is getting a little bit warmer, which is also exciting because I also obviously don't have to pay any shipping fees at the markets. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say for this month. There aren't really any major updates on Poshmark or Depop or anything. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week.